Hey, welcome to This Week in Lumber with Ashley Buckle, Greg Riley, and we have a guest, Jeff Tucker from Trussway. Uh, Matt has unfortunately not been able to sign in today, so Greg, Jeff, and I are going to roll with it. Thanks for showing up, Jeff. We appreciate
You
this.
bet. Glad to.
So, Greg, we talked off screen before you got on, and a little bit about introduce Jeff. But I wanted to Trustway. I think is a great company. One, because they are so innovative, forward thinking, and Dave Pogue and Jeff Smith were at the Framers Conference yesterday, and Dave spoke a little bit about some of the initiatives Trustway have, some of the challenges, and what they're doing about them. So, Jeff, what's your position at Trustway? And maybe say a little bit about what Trustway does.
Hi, Jeff Tucker. I'm the sourcing director at Trussway. Trussway is a component manufacturer, and our niche is multifamily projects. So, with contracts that could be anywhere from 3 to 12, or sometimes even 18 months, and solid contracts on those, solid backlog of those kinds of projects. So the difficulty or the challenge for us is the exposure, the long exposure on material costs.
And you're exposed like a long ways off, and I'm sure your customers would even want to go out farther, right? Like how far out do they expose?
These days, they're more and more interested in us locking that in for them.
And how far out do you guys go out on that now?
Well, it depends on how we frame the structure of the contract, and I don't want to give too much away.
Yeah, for sure.
But we'll go out as far as 24 months with the right understanding and the right agreements.
That's amazing. So one of the interesting things about the BCMC conference that we're at right now, sitting through these shows, it's interesting. It seems like lumber was the big issue up until months ago. You could considerably say it probably still is an issue. But my gosh, you're dealing with other stuff, truss plates. So give us some of the other challenges that you see and how you're navigating through some of those as far as procurement.
Yeah, so all of it is a challenge. Every product, steel is just now peaking out, as we know, and that's going to start really rolling into truss plate pricing, as we imagine. Engineered wood products have been difficult all along, and that's a laggard to lumber.
Yeah.
And that's going to stick longer as well. So everything's been difficult, and beyond that, the scheduling with the job sites is infinitely more difficult because they're having trouble with more than just the products we supply.
Yeah.
They're having trouble with everything else, and then the scheduling of all the different projects. So building the right trusses at the right time for the right project is tricky.
So some of your customers are you're scheduled to deliver to this during this month, but it's not happening, right? And you all of a sudden have to flex and say, okay, we've got all the material for that, but we're going to do. You guys are. This has got to be a crazy market trying to figure out how to move stuff around and ship the deck chairs around, right?
It is, absolutely. I mean, we're on the phone every day with every customer to confirm schedules and know what they want. Sometimes it's the labor that moves. They'll grab a whole crowd of them, go from one project site to another, and change things on us last minute. But that's what we do.
So, what are you doing with in your current position? How have things changed over the last 10 years, 5 years, 6 months? What have you noticed the changes are? How are you acclimating to those and changing what you do?
Well, we're always tweaking our models and our formulas as far as how much do we want to be contracted, how much do we want to be on spot, and we've developed a fair amount of forward pricing or long range pricing with mills. That's come in pretty handy, obviously, through these last couple of years. Not easy to develop, but and took a lot of time and energy, but it's paid off.
That's a completely separate habit.
Jeff, what's the average cycle time for a project comes up today? When would be the earliest that someone would be looking to start that, or want to start, or be able to start that?
Yeah, so being on the front end of discovery and oftentimes in the front end of designing these projects, they come to us for a lot of help. We're aware of them long before they're going to build, and sometimes even quoting them long before they're going to get started. So honestly, it can range anywhere from 2 months from quote to production to 24 or longer, from awareness and budget quotes and that kind of thing, all the way to when it might get started. I mean, it's a wide range.
So when you look at, you obviously look at your order book in terms of like numbers of weeks or numbers of months that you have orders in. And I'm not sure you can, you want to share what the number is today, but is today the biggest order book you've had an average or small?
I would call it average. I mean, Trustway historically has held something like a 6 to 18 month range of sold backlog, committed backlog.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're somewhere between
right
6 and 18 months is the backlog that you carry at any given time.
Say that again, Greg?
I said 6 to 18 months is the backlog that they carry at any given time.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's committed projects, material cost exposure, et cetera, however you want to look at that.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this has been a real roller coaster for you, trying to manage that kind of risk in the last, lumber market on average, 40% annual volatility, that's one thing. But when, you're up 300%, down 50%, up 200%. Is that your primary function, the risk management of the commodities?
Yes, it is.
It is.
Primary role.
Wow, I can't believe you don't have more gray hair. I see you have the beard coming in a little bit, which is great. But after the last year, you should have aged 20 years, Jeff.
I'm only 23, so.
So, Jeff, how are your projects when you look at it? What's the split, like residential, multifamily? How does Trustway, what is the niche or the type you fit into?
Very heavily multifamily. I would say 98% or more is generally multifamily. We do service a few single family accounts here and there, and we'll do the commercial building on occasion. But by and large, our reputation and our specialty is the multifamily project.
Yeah, look, you guys have a great reputation. If I can ask, you have to buy a lot of lumber. Like, you guys eat up a lot of lumber. Is there how much do you have to, how much, without giving too much away, do you have to buy? Is that a fair enough question?
We occasionally talk about, buying or owning a mill, and we could probably consume a small mill's worth of material.
Right. I mean, it's
so species-wise, Jeff, are you, what's your breakdown? Southern pine, Western U.S., Canadian spruce. What's that distribution look like?
So we have 6 truss plants, 5 of which use southern pine, 1 of which uses Douglas fir.
So predominantly pine.
Predominantly southern pine.
Predominantly southern pine.
Southern pine and Doug fir. You don't use any spruce.
No, except when we need studs on occasion. We do a rough opening for doors and windows, and occasionally we'll use some studs there.
Okay. All right.
So what do you think of the show so far? So BCMC, this is your, how many shows of these have you been to? You've been to a bunch of these.
A dozen.
What are you looking to get out of the show this year? What's your thought? Besides doing great video webcasts with Greg and myself.
This is definitely the highlight.
This is great.
So these shows, there's not a lot of actual deals for me. That happen at these shows, but it's connecting and making the relationships and preparing, because we have to think so far forward, and our contracts are in development for sometimes a year at a time before they actually go into effect, that kind of thing. So there's not a lot of deals that are struck at these shows, but it is really good to get face to face with my suppliers.
Yep. And Jeff is on the MX platform, and he gives me great feedback. I mean, one of the things we need to get more product on there for you. And Greg's a user.
I'm back.
Sorry. So Jeff is on the platform. You're on the platform. I love the feedback you guys give us. this isn't a plug for MX, but we know we want to make this a better platform for everybody, and bring more transparency like we do on these podcasts, right, or video casts. Well, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, you got it. You can either sit around and ride in.
Nice to meet you, Jeff.
Likewise.
So, Greg, great interview. It was awesome having Jeff here. I mean, and that's really kind of something we want to keep doing going forward.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, what a great guest. So, Ash, give me an overview of the show. What's the general sense of people out there at the BCMC?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. So we first went to the Framers Conference. If you don't mind, I was going to throw my headset on. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, we'll just leave it like this. So the general sense of the market.
No, go ahead. Put your headset on because I think it'll be clearer.
Okay.
I heard Jeff pretty well, but there was sometimes when he was a little bit farther from the speaker where it wasn't quite as clear. But my hearing's not that great anymore either. So
you got it. Does this sound any better?
Oh, that sounds great. Yeah.
Okay. So here's the feeling from the show. We started out at the Framing Summit, which was Sunday, Monday, and yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because along with great business, which there is just amazing business out there, as you know with everything, Greg, your business is really good, and you deal with your own issues, right? So Tim Seams from John Bird's talked at one of the things talking about, drywall is a tough thing now because of some of the information, some of the product in the drywall. Labor. Here's one thing they said the other day. Labor. It's interesting because a lot of laborers are going back to Mexico because you know what? It's a good economy down there. It's a lower cost of living. We learned about different costs of labor in different regions in the United States. Now some framers move from one location to another when labor is going to continue being an issue, right?
Okay.
For many reasons. And these guys, framers, component manufacturers, first of all, you had COVID, and then you've got all those things surrounding that, right? And then you have to maintain a workforce, and this workforce, you want to keep them, right? And you got to make them happy, and you've got end users calling you, your customers asking for where their loads are and everything. So it's cool. What I will tell you too is there's a lot of people here, and they're excited. I think it's because it's the first time in a long time people have been out seeing people, not on Zoom calls and Teams calls and conference calls. So it's a really good feel. Went to dinner with a bunch of people last night talking about the market, and just business is good out there, right? And here the big talk is truss plates. How are you going to get more truss plates and engineered product, and how do you re-engineer your trusses for not having all that, right? But a pretty good overall feeling here. It's just good to see people that you and I have known our whole life and have done business with, and chat with them outside of being on a phone somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I suspect that a lot of people are pretty happy just to be out and kind of back to normal for sure.
Oh man, I got to tell you, Omaha is a great city, right? There's just a lot going on. So market wise, since we talked last week, what's going on?
I guess I would best describe the market overall as grinding higher. As we talked last week, there was probably some over liquidation at some places in the inventory pipeline, and prices got down to a value. So a couple things that I see, one is distribution and third party reloading in particular. All across at least the area that I trade in east of the Mississippi is jam packed. They're all full. And I think that's a combination of people, such as myself, having gotten, restocked our inventory. Business has been good. Transportation is an issue. So things are moving out slower. And then, in addition to that, a lot of multifamily business has been placed, and that wood's all been bought. After what happened the last, we got a new guest coming in here. Who we got?
Oh, so that's Ryan Erickson, our newest member of the team.
Ryan, what's up?
He's
way up for the slaughter. Love it.
High speed left hander. Used to be high speed left hander, low 90s.
How about my Red Sox last night? I mean,
he was asking about the Red Sox. Your buddy was pitching in that one last night.
Yeah, my buddy Tanner Howe.
Tanner, yeah.
I mean, there's not much better than seeing the Red Sox beat the Yankees.
Here, I'll show you. We got a little activity going around. People.
Oh, okay. We demo. We doing some demos.
We're doing live demos. I mean, we're getting people on the platform that want. That's one thing we're noticing. People are coming up. There's younger people. They want transparency on lumber prices, and they, we asked in a meeting the other day. We raised our hands. Said, what benchmarks do you look at to find pricing out? And nobody could answer it. You know what their benchmark is? They call a guy.
I got a guy.
I got a guy. Some people have five
guys.
You got a
guy. I got a guy.
Five girls, five guys, 2 girls, 3 guys. They got them and they call them, right? And they get a price, and then they go back and forth. So we were explaining how good, how good the platform is for doing that. So,
and it just said, I've had a couple of conversations, and yesterday we did a match, but as you and I've talked, we're really looking forward to MX. 3.0 or 4.0, where we can get notified when we have bids on the things that we have up. Draw our attention to it. I had a conversation with somebody else. They said, "Hey, did you see that bid for whatever it was?" I go, "No, I didn't. I wish I had."
This morning we had Eurotrade, right? And I had pinged some of the sellers on here, and they said, "Oh, I didn't see it." And I go, "Well, because it traded already, right?" So it's one of those where we're going to develop a push process, and our IT guy, John Mancini, and his team, man, they do a great job. And this thing's going to really be something, especially when we come out with the app pretty soon, right? But
the mobile app?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the mobile app's going to be killer, because how many times do you call me and I'm on my way to the gym or for something else, and you're like, "Hey, you got a bid," and I'm like, can I look at it on my phone?"
Exactly. You go over to Amazon and you buy your pair of jeans, and you click over to Materials Exchange and you buy your truck at 2x4 €16. I mean, life should be that easy.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's going to be great. But I mean, the general feeling, and the other thing that I talked about with some people is, I mean, things that are supportive to the market. I mean, as long as the futures markets, $80 to $100 premium, that's going to continue to be supportive. And I think I really think what we're seeing is that, end use consumption is at least on pace with production.
Right.
And when you throw in, the kind of the supply chain kinks right now, that's going to continue to be supportive.
Well, look at Greg. You brought up a good one here too. Is look at Tim at John Burns did mention the fact that they are seeing and hearing more non-traditional people, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think one of the things he said was seeing people that never would have ever bought lumber in their life now being distributors, right? Having their own stuff sitting at places. And I think we've been talking about this for a month on this week in lumber. We noticed this trend 4 months ago, right? Calling reloads and finding that out.
Well, I suspect that here at the Framer Show, you're probably getting a number of people that maybe had a guy now have Materials Exchange, which is nice.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing people that are purchasing lumber because they need to control it to make sure their job sites move more effectively. That, first of all, I didn't know ever bought lumber, and secondly, by volume, and it's a value add for them, right? Because they can control the process more. I mean, they're still buying it traditionally too, but they certainly like using the exchange for stuff.
Right.
Logistics, Greg. You and I talked about this on the phone yesterday. So things were loosening up for 3 or 4 weeks, and then all of a sudden, bam! I mean, logistics seems to be tight again. And what's you're in that all the time. What's your feedback on logistics and trucking? I mean, so a prompt truck is what does prompt mean nowadays?
For me right now, prompt is depending on where you're going is a couple or 3 weeks out, just because we've got a big backlog of orders. It continues to cost more. I mean, I was having a conversation today with one of our yards, and she guys said, "Boy, all the guys that are coming in here are guys that we never saw before." I said, "Well, that's because we've raised the rate that we're paying, where we're attracting people that normally wouldn't have hauled for us."
Yeah, so the guy coming in actually has steel-toed boots instead of flip-flops on.
Yeah, I don't know that you get a lot of guys showing up at the lumberyard with slippers on. I think it's going to be that's the transportation and supply chain. I mean, that's going to be an ongoing, issue. But getting back to what I was talking about the market and saying, okay, business is at a really good level. Yeah, there's things that are buffers to it, but it appears that, we're pretty balanced with supply and end use consumption, and maybe tilting towards end use consumption. And I'm just wondering, how that's going to play out as we roll into, late October and November. The fourth quarter is the highest production quarter of the year. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's because weather typically doesn't have any impact on any of the producing regions, your past fires and, all of those things. And first quarter is the lowest production quarter of the year.
Right.
Which is why typically you make a low price sometime between mid-late October and our Thanksgiving is the seasonal low for lumber. So what does that mean if we have this strength? You and I used to talk about this is, bull market, bear market. In a bull market, if you move sideways during seasonal weakness, and during seasonal strength, you go vertical.
Bad news goes sideways too, right in a bull market.
Right. Nobody cares about it. Yeah.
Nobody cares.
I just kind of have my eye on, okay, where could we go to as we move from, seasonal weakness to seasonal strength,
Yeah, no, that's a great point. One of the things I noticed here too, species southern yellow pine, 4 inches hard to find because these guys have a lot of it chewed up. But 6 inches still available out there. Let's talk a little bit about the basis. I mean, that seems to be a great topic of conversation here from the people that know about it. Even the people that don't know about basis want to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, it continues to hold a big premium. That's supportive to the market. We saw it in September, and it's funny. If we think about it, we used to have the situation where futures would always be at this discount and then come up to cash close to expiration. And now we seem to be moving to a place where futures carries a really big premium and cash comes up to it. Or, we'll see over the next 3-4 weeks if that's the case.
Well, what is it? It's Tuesday today. The market's
Wednesday. Today's Wednesday.
Wednesday, it's flat to sideways. It's flat to sideways. So I'm guessing there should be some obscure announcement from a friend of a friend of a friend that somebody sold somebody in Bangladesh a month's production or something like that. And because it's about time to prime the pump again, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
But if you want to look at the technical of the board, futures is essentially been, how long has it been sideways? Stand by. I was told not to turn sideways and look at my computer screen, but I can't help myself.
Did Hoagie tell you that?
Yeah, Hoagie said, he goes, yeah, you don't look good from your left side.
Yeah. Shout out to Hoagie.
And I go, my wife says I don't look good from my right side, so I'm really in a bad place now.
Yeah, man, he gave us a really good critique 2 weeks ago, and kind of gave us the old, hey, you know what, you're only as good as you are that day, right? Like last
Yeah,
week.
exactly.
Yeah, we didn't have the schedule, so we appreciate.
We had an off day. I think we got our game back though today.
Yeah,
huh?
that could be go. I think I went a little bit to the dark side, and I apologize.
You did.
You usually when I used to work with you, you used to come over and slap me in the head and break me out of that.
Well, or tell you to go get a cup of coffee.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So
or go get a Red Bull. Yeah.
But no, I was gonna. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just saying is we're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're almost 5 weeks on the November contract. Trading in about a $70-$75 range. That used to be, the range of the market in the morning, right?
Yeah, that's great. You know what? That's great. I didn't realize that. That's a good point. And cash has been slowly sneaking up to it a little bit, right? From the spruce side.
I mean, that I've got basis on, and so
I know, but I don't want to announce it. You can say it if you want. I can't really say that.
I'm hanging out, like waiting for it to come in. While I look at the board, I go, technically, I could easily build a case for it to go to 800.
Right.
Whoa,
right.
Did I just say that? Yep, I did.
Yeah, no, I mean, look I can't say no to that, right? Because what do you always say? The trend is your friend.
That is what they say.
Well, cool. Well, so we're into this little bit. We'll start wrapping it up a little bit. We'll be live again tomorrow with Matt Lehman. Matt's live here. We'll do that from the booth.
So is it true we're going to have Barkley on next week as our guest? Is that right?
Who's that? Charles?
Barkley. We're going to have Barkley on, talk lumber.
Maybe, man, and talk golf. Who knows? We're actually working on getting some guests that you know and I know, and I think that's a really good segue, a really good way to expand the show. But we're also working. I sent Nick some stuff over with the Monday Night Peyton and Eli Manning thing. I really want to get some different split screens and actually bring people in to talk like that about stuff.
Yeah, that's great. Well, now, how much longer does the show go?
So it goes till Thursday at.
So you got another day on there.
Another day,
right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, have a great show, and we'll talk to you when you get back. Thanks, Ash.
All right, everybody, thanks, and thanks for signing on. Come to mxlumber.com. We're the only digital way to buy and sell lumber. We'll make the market transparent for you, and hope to see you soon.
Take care.
Oh, hey, and if you're at booth 811, I think it's 811. Hope it is. Come by and see us, and maybe you'll be a guest on the show. Talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye.